Karma Marga, and Hindu Dharma. In this lecture, we will learn about the Karma Marga and about Dharma in Hindu tradition. To help us situate this material, it can help to review Hinduism's central narrative. Stephen Prothero, a professor at Boston University, proposes a 4-point framework to compare religions to each other. Each religion, he says, offers responses to these 4 questions. What is humanity's problem? What is the solution to this problem? How does a person get to this solution? Who shows a religion's adherents the way? For Hindu religion, humanity's problem is samsara. Life is riddled with suffering, and even when we do carve out for ourselves a means of providing for our needs, this solution proves to be temporary at best. We might hope that death will afford us a release from suffering. Then when we die, because of karma, we end up being born again to be paid back for the good and bad we have brought into the world. This cycle of suffering, death, reincarnation, and suffering is called samsara. Liberation from the cycle is called moksha. What are the 3 margas of Hinduism? In 3,000 years of Hindu history, from 1,500 before the Common Era to 1,500 of the Common Era, 3 different paths or marga emerge. Jnana Marga, or philosophical Hinduism, which focuses on study and meditation, and Bhakti Marga, or devotional Hinduism, which focuses on devotion to a personal God. They each offer a way to attain moksha, or liberation. All 3 exist alongside each other. And in a spirit of religious toleration quite typical among Hindu practitioners, all 3 have gained acceptance. One of the most popular Hindu scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, names all 3 of these paths as an acceptable way of life. We will look at each of these with a little more detail here, and then we will look more closely at Dharma, which informs Karma Marga in daily life. Karma Marga focuses on actions. The goal of Karma Marga is to cultivate a disposition towards selfless action, so support for other people becomes a central aspect of a person's life. When a person finds joy because they live in harmony with the divine order of the universe, acting in accord with Dharma is not an externally imposed obligation, but an internal draw and a source of joy. Jnana Marga, or philosophical Hinduism, focuses on study and meditation that allows a person to experience wisdom about the true nature of reality. Based on the belief that a person's soul, Atman, connects with ultimate reality, Brahman, meditation leads a person to wisdom about the grounding of all reality. Shankara is the name of the sage whose work gives rise to the most prominent school of Hindu philosophy, Vedanta. He promotes philosophical Hinduism as an indispensable component of a person's journey to moksha. Bhakti Marga, or devotional Hinduism, focuses on devotion to a personally chosen God. This is the most popular of Hinduism's 3 paths. Hindu practice gives a person the discretion to choose a God toward whom they will develop a personal devotion. Quite often people express this devotion through puja, or offerings made at a home shrine, or with the assistance of a priest at a temple. Sometimes this is a god to whom their family has devotion, and some gods have more prominence in a particular community, region, or country. With Bhakti Marga, divine intervention allows a person to escape karma, and with it samsara, while also gaining benefit in this life. What is Dharma? What does Dharma call for? Action is at the heart of Karma Marga, and Dharma guides action that fits with the divine order of the world. Most people who observe Hindu religion believe that the world has an inherent order. Dharma supports the order of everything: earth, society, family, and the person. When people live in accord with this order, they experience harmony. The image on the right of this slide gives a graphic representation of the 4 varnas, or castes, of traditional Hindu society. In the Rig Veda, Hinduism's oldest scriptures, each caste is said to emerge from a different part of Brahman. The priest from the head, warriors from the shoulders, economic producers from the legs, and servants from the feet. This image speaks to the correlation many Hindu people draw between a dharmic social order and the divine order of the world. Adharma, or action that opposes dharma, is described as anarchical because people act in a self-centered way and with indifference to others' needs. This kind of community or society harms most those who have the least power. Dharma is sometimes described as a duty and is sometimes articulated in written law, but Dharma sometimes names a whole way of life. Dharma includes religious observance, household responsibilities, dietary guidelines, marital practices, and societal obligations like building peace, conserving the natural environment, or promoting human rights. When a person lives in harmony with this way of life, they find joy in Dharma and tend to exhibit other-centeredness in their attitudes and actions. People who live in accord with Dharma do not seek their own reputation or material benefit when they do their duty. They act in a given way because they believe that's what works best for everyone. When people want to understand what Dharma calls for, it can help to look at Hindu scriptures. We do not find only one opinion about Dharma in the vast corpus of texts that Hindu people honor as sacred. We find a range of views in the texts themselves, and we find also that Hindu practitioners interpret their scriptures in different ways. Knowing what these scriptures say, however, helps us understand better the people who turn to Hindu scriptures for guidance. Most Hindu practitioners speak of two levels of authority within their scriptures. The oldest texts, which hold a higher level of authority, are called Vedic literature. These scriptures are also called Shruti. Many Hindu people see their authorship as divine. Another set of writings have an authority as scriptures, but a lower level of authority, and their authorship is recognized as human. They are called Smriti. A large number of these texts address the topic Dharma. We will look more closely at 3 Smriti texts. One of the sources is called the Manusmriti, or the Law of Manu. Its authorship is attributed to the first human being of Hindu myth, Manu. It articulates legal codes and offers teachings about Dharma. In these texts, we find teachings related to the Dharma of one's caste or Varna. We also find a description of how Dharma changes over the course of the 4 stages of life, or ashrama. It has influence enough that Dharma is sometimes called Varna Ashrama Dharma, which translates roughly as duty appropriate to social position and age. The Law of Manu is an important part of Hindu history. It is not the origin of the caste system, but it reflects this social order, and the caste system endures in Hindu society today. But the Manusmriti itself is not a prominent presence in the day-to-day living of contemporary Hindu culture. 2 other Smriti texts do command some popular attention. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana are epic poems. They are, in every sense of the word, epic. First, they're long. The Mahabharata has over 100,000 verses. It's longer than the combined length of the Bible, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. The Ramayana is the shorter of the 2, but it's 20,000 verses, with 480,000 words, is longer than 2.5 New Testaments. Their plot is also epic, like the Iliad or the Lord of the Rings, and these epic poems do retain cultural currency in much of the Hindu world. Several versions have been made for cinema, for television, and most recently for YouTube. Some festivals include theatrical performances of their stories. They're the subjects of songs, and people memorize some of their verses. Their battles, very bloody battles, love stories, abductions, rescues, friendships, plot twists, and heartbreaking betrayals capture our imagination. And time and again, they return to questions of Dharma. In a famous section of the Mahabharata, Arjuna, our hero, faces an ethical dilemma. The plot of the Mahabharata plays out as a family feud between the cunning Kauravas and the righteous, though sometimes foolish, Pandavas. Arjuna is a Pandava. His cousins, the Kauravas, have usurped the throne from Arjuna's brother, and the Pandavas are going to war to return their brother to his place as king. On the brink of battle, Arjuna wonders, should I act according to the Dharma of my Varna, caste, and fight as a warrior is called to fight? Should I act according to the Dharma of my ashrama, stage of life, and uphold the lives of my friends and family members whom I would meet in battle? Should I seek a just outcome despite the costs? It turns out that Arjuna's chariot driver is Krishna in disguise. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu, a Hindu god. Krishna makes himself known to Arjuna and teaches him about Dharma. He tells Arjuna to fight because that is the Dharma of a warrior. Arjuna is truly a warrior, his family's best. But Krishna teaches Arjuna to fight without seeking his own prestige and without taking delight in his skill as a warrior. Instead, if Arjuna acts with a heart dedicated to the Dharma of a warrior, he acts in accord with Dharma overall. This kind of dispassionate disposition to Dharma becomes the key takeaway from this part of the Mahabharata and a prominent view of dharmic action in Hindu religion. The Ramayana is more like a soap opera than a wartime drama. Its plot is a little complex, so we will not go into it in great detail here. But the plot raises a number of questions about Dharma related to kingship, friendship, being a wife, being a son, and being a brother. In summary, Dharma is a prominent concept of Hindu religion. For people who pursue the karma marga as a path to liberation, Dharma becomes a key touchstone because it offers guidance for our actions. Dharma in Hindu teaching is also a worthwhile goal for a person's life. English translations of the word Dharma often use the word duty, but Dharma emerges from the sacred order of reality. It supports society, a family, and a person's true self. When people lead a life in harmony with divine order, they say it begets joy and harmony. It does not feel like an external imposition. Dharma changes depending on a person's age and social position. But for all people, it calls for core values of truthfulness, non-injury, and making others' well-being a personal priority. Dharma is a frequent topic of Hindu smriti and is prominent in the culturally influential epic poems, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana.